Why you know exactly what to do and still not do it. Have you ever noticed how you can explain your own situation perfectly but still stay in the same place for months? You know you should post more. You know you should send a message. You know you should leave certain situation. You know you should start. It's not like you're confused. So you're asking the question of why am I still stuck? But today I'm going to talk about that gap between knowing and moving. Because that gap is where most people live secretly. That's where people are actually stuck in between. And here's the real problem. Most people think that their issue is, I need more motivation, I need more discipline, I need a better strategy. But if knowledge was the problem, you would be free by now because you exactly know what to do, but for some reason you're not doing it. You don't have a knowledge problem. All you have is a movement problem. And movement is emotional, not intellectual. Movement, acting, is an emotional problem. It's not a problem of what you know or how intellectually sound you are. Knowing what to do is safe. Knowing is safe. That's the easiest route. That's what you can do fast. Because as long as you don't act, your identity, who you are, stays protected. You can still tell yourself, I could do this if I really tried. If you're on that mind frame of knowing more, you always tell yourself that I'm very sure that if I try this, I would succeed in it, but you still don't try. But the moment you act, reality answers back, because once you take an act or you take a step forward, reality will always respond with situations you don't have within your control. Now, it's no longer theory. Now it's all about exposure. Now someone has to tell you no. Now you can fail publicly. Now you can see where you actually are. You have to see what you know and what you're capable of doing at that point. It has to be very clear to you. So the brain does something very clever. It keeps you in almost starting, almost changing, almost becoming. That way, we feel aware without feeling vulnerable. You're scared of exposure. And this is where people get trapped. They stay busy instead of moving. You stay busy consuming information. You stay busy acting like you're moving, but you're still standing on the same spot. You stand there planning, you stand there researching, tweaking, watching more videos, waiting to feel ready. All these things looks like effort, looks like you're making progress. But emotionally, it's all about protection, protecting yourself from exposure. And that's because preparation feels productive without the emotional risk of action. Because if you risk acting, you risk failing. You risk being laughed at. You risk being seen. And most people don't realize this is happening. They think they are building momentum, but they're actually building a delay. You think that you're making a move, think that you're progressing, but you're actually delaying yourself. It's like standing at the edge of a cold swimming pool. You're standing at the edge of a cold swimming pool in a very cold evening. You already decided you're going to swim. You won't change clothes, but you keep touching the water with your foot, walking around, adjusting things, acting as if you're ready to, plunge in. You're not actually avoiding swimming. What you're avoiding is you avoided the shock of entry. And that shock, that's uncomfortable first plunge, is the part that actually changes you. That first plunge into the pool is what resets your nervous system to adapt quickly or to repel the condition of the pool. Well, at the same time, it's just a trap. This is exactly the kind of pattern I help people break inside my 90-day execution container. Not by giving you more information, but by helping you actually move on the things you already know you should be doing. Because most people don't need another plan. They need structure, accountability, and nervous system support to follow through. All right, back to the video. Here's what people don't talk about. The longer you stay in knowing without doing, the heavier life starts to feel. The longer you stay in knowing what to do, but not actually doing it, the heavier, the more you feel heavy, and something is off about you. You don't feel so comfortable. You feel like you're being left behind. And that's not because you're doing too much, but because you're actually recurring on acted potential. You still carry the load and burden of I could have been more. And that turns into frustration, self-doubt, comparison, and a quiet shame. That's the thing that goes on subconsciously, and it keeps you, very uncomfortable. And that's not because you're incapable. You're always capable, but because deep down, you're not honoring what you already see. The vision you're seeing, you're not actually acting towards it. You're just, being at that edge of, I can do this, but that's an internal tension most people live with for years. Some people live with. Some people don't even come out of this, this gap. At this point, you should know that you're not lazy. Nah, you are not. You're just protecting yourself from rejection, embarrassment, outgrowing your old identity, seeing that you're earlier in the journey than you hoped. You're scared of rejection. You're scared of being embarrassed, people judging you, people questioning your decision. You're scared of outgrowing what is familiar, your old identity. You're scared of launching into uncertainty. You're scared of launching into the unknown. And one thing again is that awareness feels so comfortable. I know this. But execution, that is confrontational. Executing is jumping into the water. That's why people stay in insight mode instead of action mode. You stay in feeding your brain with a lot of knowledge, but at the end of the day, you don't execute, you don't test the water, you don't test yourself. And for some reason, insight always feels like progress and execution feels like risk. Once you keep consuming information, you feel like, I'm getting better, I know better, I'm better. But you fail to understand that execution feels like risk, but that's what will get you to the desired goal or desired reality. I repeat again, nothing is wrong with you. Never. You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem. Nothing is wrong with you. You're perfectly okay. You're perfectly fine. You don't just need more hype. You don't need someone to hype you up to motivate you. You don't need to even want it more. You don't need to feel like I need to do more. I need to do this. I need to do that. I can relate to that. All you need to do is to stop trying to feel ready before you move. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to be fully prepared. You don't need to, have everything figured out before you take that bold step. Nah, because clarity really comes before action. You can't get clarity before you act. Clarity comes from action. If you don't get anything from this video, it should be this. Clarity never comes before action. You must dip your leg into the water, and clarity comes from doing that action. You don't think your way into a new life. Thinking is a trap, bro. Thinking about, what you could be, what you could not be, thinking about, the insight and information you keep getting. Nah, that's not the way into it. You move your way into one. You act your way into one. And finally, if you're watching this and thinking, I already know what I should be doing. I know what I should be doing. I'm not just doing it. That's exactly who my 90-day execution container is for. If you're this person, that container is for you. It's for people who are self-aware. You know what you want. You know what you should be doing. You're capable. Even if you think you're not capable, you are. And you're tired of living in I almost did it. Nah, you did not. We build a structure. Remove hesitation loops. Hesitation. That feeling of I almost, but I did not. We turn insight into consistent execution. That information you have, we figure out how you can best turn it into actionable steps to lead you into your desired goal. If that sounds like where you are right now, click the link in my bio and answer the questionnaire, and I will tell you how it works and see if it's a fit, because I have to check if we are actually on the same page, because knowing is not a problem anymore. You know enough. In fact, you know more than enough. Smarter, people that you're smarter than are making some things happen. They're making shit happen. So you don't need to know more. You need to act more. Movement can be trained. See you on the other one.